doesn't leave. It's not like, oh, just because we got older that we're going to change.
Right.
The energy is still the same. And what people don't understand is subconsciously, it's not even you saying, hey, I know this is not the right guy for me. I know that I shouldn't deal with him. So it's not your subconscious telling you that, hey, you should be sexually attracted to this guy. It's literally an energy that you don't even recognize. Because let's just be
Mm.
honest, many women who fall into this predicament, they don't want to be in this predicament. They're trying to
No.
figure a way out, but they
Yeah.
don't know why they can't.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Shou Talks. I am joined by a really good friend of mine. I don't even know how long we've known each other, but it was something you said recently about your energy, and I had to definitely agree. You have such a dope energy, and I said, you know what, I got to get you, on my podcast and let my audience get to see the type of people that I have in my life and why I am the way that I am. And with that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and let you introduce yourself.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much. I'm B. Rich Scott, your ordained fitness minister. And a lot of people often ask me, what is an ordained fitness minister? And that's a title that I made up because I am a legitimate ordained minister. And my
Mm,
profession by trade is a personal trainer. So I combine those two titles together in order to not only help people with their body, but also help people with their spirit and their soul. And people don't really understand how deeply metaphysics and your emotional state and mental play a part of your physical. But I'm also an entrepreneur. I have a few businesses. I run a credit course. I started my own nonprofit organization, Spirits of Good Health. So I have a
so,
few pans in the fire, and I'm cooking.
hey, you're a man of many hats. I mean, and we love
Yes,
to
I'm a
see it.
Gemini, so that's what we do.
We're not gonna go down the Gemini conversation, but that's okay. That could be
Well, we
another
can have that
topic.
conversation another time because I go real deep into that and how the metaphysics in the zodiacs is related to certain avenues that people choose to embark in their life. So we could go there one
That's
day
dope.
too.
Listen, you about to have me pull out my pen and paper, just start writing a list of topics I'm gonna have you keep coming back on. But for today, I actually labeled this topic energy.
Okay.
And you sent me a video a while ago, and that's my fault. I gotta keep following up. I'm trying to be better on how I support my friends. See, I'm very transparent in my flaws. I need to be better in supporting my friends, and when they're doing dope things. And you sent me a video, I think this past summer, and in the
Yes.
video you are talking about your energy.
Yes.
And well, it was actually titled Why Women in My Past Continue to Sleep with Me.
Yes.
And in the beginning you talk about energy, but then you shift it to sexually transmitted demons. But
Yes.
the first comment you said when you were talking about energy, um, you mentioned that it's something that you always knew about yourself. Was it kind of just through your own experience of life, or did you just notice how people reacted to you and that helped you realize, oh, my energy is pretty dope?
It was a combination of both because in order for you to realize who you are, you need a reflection of you through other people. So if I didn't
Mm,
have other people to authenticate that for me, I wouldn't really know that. But you also have to be self-aware enough to see that
right.
because we do have a lot of dope people that have great energy, but because of past traumas or sometimes people that they just don't have support from other people, they're not able to recognize it themselves, and therefore it goes unrecognized even to themselves.
Right. And how do you feel your energy can impact somebody who doesn't necessarily have good energy? Like, do you feel like it's a transfer? Is it more absorbent, or is kind of like you have so much amazing energy that you're able to pour into other people's energy?
Well, here's what I will say to that. Everybody on this earth has a unique energy to them.
Mm-hmm.
We've all been in situations where we're in a room and we're amongst ourselves, whether we're conversing or just minding our business, and then somebody else comes into the room and instantaneously the mood and environment changes. That could be for the
Mm-hmm.
negative, that could be for the positive, depending on
Right.
your perspective. So
Right.
we all have this energy that that other people can feel. Now,
Right.
again, some people are not self-aware, but as far as I know, my energy for the most part has always been positive because I come with a positive vibration.
Mm,
Energy is nothing but wavelengths and it's all around us, it's all in the air.
right.
And where each person has a like an antenna, a reception antenna with their frequency, whatever frequencies is around them. So sometimes we can't identify what that actually is, but
Right.
we know the feeling when we feel it.
Right. Right. And further into your video, you talk about sexually transmitted demons. And I don't think a lot of people understand that, and like you said, when you have sex with somebody, it's more than just the physical action. It's more than just physical interaction happening. Like you guys are literally not even just sharing and transferring fluids, like you're transferring energy.
Exactly. A lot of people, all right, I'll give you a perfect example.
Mhm.
Many women often say, I can't find the right type of guy.
Right.
So they stop dating and they stop having sex.
Mhm.
And a lot of the times when women do that, they're hoping that something inside of them will shift in a pattern of behavior in which once they do start sexually engaging again, that they will attract the right type of guy. With that being said, so many times once that woman starts to engage back in sexual activity again, she
Mhm.
often finds that she's attracting still the wrong type of guy. Now,
Mm.
here's the problem with that. There's so much stuff that we're not told or taught, and there's often a lot of things that nobody could teach you. It's just some things it's like you just have to know or you have to find that wisdom.
Right.
There's a thing called the womb imprint. Are you familiar
Mm.
with what that is?
No.
Okay. The womb imprint is the first 2 to 3 sexual experiences a woman has. Well, the first 2 to 3 partners, not necessarily if it's the same partner, but
Right.
it's usually the first 2 to 3 men that that woman initially has sex with.
Mm.
And what happens with that is through that penetration and intercourse, it implants, uh, for a lack of a better word, it implants the type of energy through that guy that going forward, that woman is going to attract, whether it's good, bad, right, or wrong. So here's what an example would be. A woman's, again, having problems with men. So she's like, I'm going to stop having sex.
Right.
She stops having sex for 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, gets back in the dating field, meets a guy, thinks that this is the guy for her. She's attracted to this guy. They engage in sexual activity. And for whatever reason, he turns out to be the same type of dude that
Mm.
she didn't want in the first place.
Right.
See, what happened was she thought just by not having sex, it was going to change the pattern of her behavior.
Mm.
What happened was her energy, her sexual energy from her imprint first through the 2 to 3 dudes that she had initially had sex with, that hadn't changed. So
Mm.
hypothetically, this is what usually happens. They say that, and I'm gonna go a couple of places with this just to bring it back to the forefront.
Right.
You generally hear that they say women mature faster than men.
Mm-hmm.
On some level, that's true, but we never really realize what the reason that is.
Mm.
Unfortunately, in our community, a lot of our girls, they're being raped, they're being molested.
Yeah.
So a lot of the times these are young girls having intercourse, again being rape molested, and
Mm.
there are some girls 16, 17, 15, 14 that's having consensual,
Yeah.
quote unquote, sex with older men.
Right.
Here's the problem with that. Usually ninth, 10th graders, the girls, their bodies are overdeveloped. So they kind of look body wise
Mm-hmm.
older than they should be.
Right.
Now, some of these girls use that to their advantage to try to, solicit older gentlemen. And,
Mm-hmm.
good, bad, right, or wrong, some of these dudes are having intercourse with these women. And now these are adult men transmitting their actual semen lots of times into this woman. And if you
Right.
want to know how powerful a semen is, I have 3 children. I'm a light skinned dude. I have brownish hair. All my children are from, and I have two women. So I have both of these women are brown skin. Well, actually, one is dark skin, one is brown skin. All three of my children look like I birthed them. So that's telling you how powerful semen is.
Right.
So if my semen is powerful enough to have three children come from women who look nothing like me and they look identical to me, imagine what my DNA is doing to that woman internally. So she's adopting on some level my personality, my
Right.
spirit, and my energy. So let's go back to the girls. So these girls are by sexual energy is being, groomed to have this energy of an older male. So imagine you're a 15-year-old girl with a body like a woman, and you're attracting grown men who, even if they're not really in a financial better place than most adults, they're in a better place than you.
Right.
So now imagine that 15-year-old boy in high school, and most boys at the age of 15, they don't have any type of maturity, no type of physical attributes that makes them stand out from anybody else. I just happened to be one of those boys who I always had a body. Like that's my genetics, my DNA. But most teenage boys don't have a body. So if you're in high school trying to look for girls, these girls ain't checking for you because half the time they're with older dudes. So they get the experience maturity. Now, not saying that that's right, but they experience maturity. But at a certain age, like let's say around 23, 24, that maturity has kind of stopped because they're no longer getting the energy from those dudes that are older. So that's where a male who's like in his 20s, maybe 30s, start to gain a little bit of an advantage as far as the maturity goes. But the main reason why I personally feel that a lot of these girls mature faster than boys is because of the energy that's being transmitted between these grown men, unfortunately, and these girls. So we're going to touch back on sexual transmutation. So back to the womb imprint. So when you're a girl and you're having, if you was molested or if you was raped, that energy unfortunately doesn't leave. It's not like, oh, just because we got older that we're going to change.
Right.
The energy is still the same. And what people don't understand is subconsciously, it's not even you saying, hey, I know this is not the right guy for me. I know that I shouldn't deal with him. So it's not your subconscious telling you that, hey, you should be sexually attracted to this guy. It's literally an energy that you don't even recognize. Because let's just be honest, many women who fall into this predicament, they don't want to be in this predicament. They're trying to figure a way out, but they don't know why they can't. Now, here's what depending on how you look at it, here's what the unfortunate reality is. Some people say, well, you could go to therapy. You could, pray to the Lord. You can, get counseling and all these other type of things. But that may be true. But from what I've studied, what I've seen, and what I know is the only way a woman's imprint or woman's womb imprint can be changed is through another man sexually. And she has to really submit to that man. She has to really, that man has to be that dude. So if she was dealing with knuckleheads before and she was all into that type of, energy, whatever her next dude is, if he isn't a knucklehead, if he is thorough and he is the type of man that she wants, she has to sexually be
engaged.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times, some of those dudes who some of these women say, hey, that's the type of guy that I should be with, a lot of the times sexually, he's not doing it for her because her womb imprint is imprinted by that other guy who she sexually desires.
Yeah, you are speaking so much truth right now. Like if you could see my face, I'm sitting there not even thinking about my past experiences, but even just listening to your friends talk and all. A lot of women complaining about falling for the same dudes, or even when you see your female friends and they're complaining about whoever they're dating, you're just like, you realize this is like the same 6 dudes you've been with, like you're doing the same,
Mm,
and all of this makes sense because it's like it's not necessarily you choosing your energy. You're
yes.
attracting this type of energy. My question, um, you said the only way for a woman to change that imprint is for another guy, is through another man. So if your energy keeps attracting one type of dude, how do you change the trajectory?
Well, the first part of that is you have to be conscious of that and you have to be willing to want to change because let's be
Mm,
honest, sometimes the devil that we're familiar with is the most comfortable. And no matter what, some things that is in our best interest, it takes effort to do. And we all know that most people are not going to put any effort into anything.
nope, nope,
So
because it.
it's going to be a matter of how important a fulfilling romantic relationship is going to be to that woman, and it's also going to be important. Now here's something else. Now let me get a little bit deeper here.
Mhm,
So a lot of times I counsel male and female regarding relationships because it's such an interesting time where we have so many people that are single and so many people that are looking for certain relationships. And to be honest, everybody's complaining like, this is something new. This has been going on since as long as I've been around, as long as I've been
mhm.
dating. We always have arguments about, it's hard to find people to date, whoop de whoop, this, that, and the third.
Yeah.
But when it comes to this particular part where a woman is trying to change her womb imprint, part of part of this situation that makes it so hard is a woman has to be really transparent about what's happened to her. So I tell
Mm,
some of the women that I counsel, if you're dealing with a dude and you're really interested in that guy and you see it going forward, before you even sexually engage, you have to be vulnerable and transparent about your sexual past. Because I used to come from a school of thought where I didn't care um how many dudes a woman had sex with, because to
mhm,
me, it was my school of thought. Oh, you had sex with a lot of dudes. That's good because when you get to me, you already know what you like, what you don't like, what's good and what's not good. So whatever, whatever. So I
mm,
came from that school of thought, which in some way, you know, I still feel that way. But wisdom wise, I understand why it's very important. Well, and let me say that I didn't really care how many dudes a woman had sex with. But now
right.
it is kind of important that men survey and see how many um, dudes a woman has had sex with, because that's going to tell a lot about her energy. Whenever a woman
Mm,
is in an argument with a guy, she's always going to channel that sexual energy from that man or men that she's
mm,
dealt with in the past. So that's a
mhm,
real powerful thing where, again, people don't understand how powerful
right.
sex is. Look at any, for instance, so my oldest child is 26 years old. I have a 26-year-old, a
No, you
23-year-old,
don't.
and a 6-year-old. I sure do. Now, my 26-year-old was conceived all the way back in 1995. She was born in 96.
Mhm,
My DNA is still in her mother from all the way back then. My DNA there's a piece of my DNA that will always remain in her to the day that she dies. And any other
right.
dude that she's had, sex with, and
Since,
he's
yeah.
had the part of the semen. And all the different guys that a woman has had sex with, again, she's channeling a lot of that energy whenever she's with a guy and she's combative with that guy.
Right.
So that's one part of it. The other part is when you understand that it's important to know how many partners as a man that woman has engaged with, you get an idea of what that personality is like. But just like the
Mm,
woman, who a lot of these women don't understand how important some of these things are, we got so many men that don't understand how valuable their semen is, and they're just jerking off, letting it go in the air. They're fucking deposited it in women who they're not even really dealing with on a real a real true nature.
Yeah.
So we don't understand. We're confused why so many women are crazy, quote unquote, or so many women are
Mm.
emotionally unstable. But
Mhm. Mhm.
look at the dudes who's depositing their energy, because a lot of these dudes are unemotionally stable.
Mm.
So it's a lot going on to unpack there. But the question is, how bad do people really want to change? How bad do people really want the relationships that they're asking for? Because I'm telling you right now, this shit is hard. It's not easy. It takes work.
No. And what, so I guess what drew you to, because my experience with knowing you, you don't just speak just to speak, like you've done your research.
Yeah.
What brought you to want to learn more about it?
Since I was 17, I said to myself that this is gonna sound funny, but my job, at one point, my job and my desire was to make sure that I satisfy women.
Mm,
So that means whatever type of sexual relationship, no matter what I had to do to make that happen, I was going to learn everything that I needed to know about making that happen. But what ends up happening is, as you start getting older and getting into some of these relationships that, when you're with somebody for a while, things kind of just get stagnant, become boring. We get into our lifestyles, the lust is gone and all that energy is
mhm,
gone, this, that, and the third. And I started seeing myself like, okay, well, you know, I'm not really, I'm not, that wasn't as important as it once was.
mhm,
And in 2019, I went through a divorce.
mhm,
And once I was free, and I'm not going to say like it was a bad thing, because, it wasn't like I had a bad marriage. She's great. We both have a great relationship. But I see myself not being as honest as I wanted to be in that relationship. And
mhm.
once I was free, quote unquote, I said to myself, I'm never going to put myself in a position again and where I'm not going to be my authentic self and express and do what I want to do. And
Right.
that led me on a whole spiritual journey that dealt with a lot of shadow work, a lot of, books, a lot of meditation, a lot of shaman work, a lot of rituals, a lot
Mhm.
of stuff that people look at me like, man. I tell
Yeah.
people like this: if you haven't known me since 2020, you don't know me.
You don't
I'm
know
I'm
me.
not I'm
Yep.
not even that person.
Yeah.
So a lot of this, I started to realize with the research that a lot of the way human nature is it has to do with sex.
Yeah.
Like, let's just think about it. Every single, and I mean this literally, and only a lot of people are going to understand this, but only a few people are going to overstand this.
Mhm.
Every single thing, period. Whatever you see, you're talking to me on this phone, you're sitting on a chair or a couch, your feet are planted on the floor, you have a roof over your head. Every single thing that you could consciously see
Mhm.
has to do with sex,
Mm.
period. Nothing in this world is without sexual energy. Because what is sexual energy? Sexual energy, basically, I'll say it like this: when a child is conceived, is technically, quote unquote, conceived out of nothing. Although there's the sperm and the egg,
Yeah.
but technically there's no child there. It's just a sperm and there's the egg.
Mhm.
That sperm and the egg creates life.
Right.
Life creates everything that you see in front of you. It all starts in the mind. So without life, there's nothing in front of you. There's no seat
Mhm.
to sit on. There's no food to eat. There's nothing to do. There's nothing to see. So just by that definition alone, just by that simple math, everything is created through sex. So once you understand how powerful that energy is, then you get to understand how it makes everything in the world move. Like, people say money is the most important instrument in the world. Not even close. Not even close. Because money is an illusion. It's not even real. And that's a whole different story that I can go through another time. It's all about energy. Everything is energy, and energy is sex. Let me
I know
tell you
you
a
got
little
me a little
secret.
nervous.
Let
Okay.
me tell you a little secret. No, you're gonna get nervous, but let me tell you a little secret that I've learned throughout my 46 years. What I've noticed, and it all goes back to energy.
Mhm.
A man is supposed to use his logic to navigate a woman's emotion. Emotion is very powerful and is very chaotic. However, as a man, I'm supposed to use my logic to navigate that woman's emotion. Okay. So in a relationship, I noticed that because of that whole emotional chaotic thing that a lot of women have in their system, a lot of women don't care if the attention is positive or negative. And what I've also noticed is most men want peace. We just want to sit down, shut the fuck up, and we don't have to do nothing. We can literally just sit down and just zone out into space and just be good. We don't need too much of
day,
nigga, for the whole month. But watch this. Watch this. I've been in relationships where this is kind of scary in a way. And for men, I want you to really pay attention to what I'm about to say, because I know this has happened to you, and I'm going to show you how to play this card. But I'm also want you to be aware of this when it happens, because it's really messed up when you're in a relationship and everything is going good, like there's no problems, there's no drama, and you're questioning, hey, what the hell? Because oftentimes we're so used to trauma and drama that when things are cool, we think there's a problem. Now I will throw a caveat out there. Sometimes there is a problem, and man, you better watch out, because she's about to leave or she's fucking somebody else. But that's another story. But let's talk about the situation where that isn't happening.
Yeah.
So now the dude's like, yo, damn, this seems kind of weird. And you should never be in a state of amazement when a relationship is flawless. But here's what I've realized. There has to be some drama in a relationship, because women need that emotional stimuli, good, bad, right, or wrong. So what usually happens is a woman, sometimes on purpose, but a lot of times subconsciously, will start some shit in order to get, unfortunately, a negative emotional jolt. So here's a hack, guys, that I've learned. And you have to use this judiciously, because if you don't, you're going to fucking seem like you're crazy. Sometimes when things are cool, you got to artificially stimulate some drama just to keep her appeased. It has to be a controlled drama, because if it's out of control and it goes to a different level, because sometimes, you might want to start some shit and then it goes too far, because as a man, you're not emotionally mature enough to just rein that shit back in, and then it just goes someplace else, and then it's actually real drama. So let's go back to the Garden of Eden.
You're killing me here.
Let's go back to the Garden of Eden. So in the Garden of Eden, everything is perfect. And they say when the devil, which was the snake, came and brought the apple to Eve, they call Lucifer the light bearer for a reason, because what he did was show an alternative to what you have. So my question becomes this, back to, like I said, if human beings was able to reach their ultimate potential, would we even be satisfied?
No. Because somebody somewhere is always going to assume that there's more and there's better.
Well, not even that, but how can you relate what's good? If I don't have any bad times, how can I grow? How can I adjust myself to be better? Now I'm gonna go somewhere else deep with this, because often people say, and it's funny, because when you break down what I'm about to say, you have to look at it in two different ways. You got to look at it metaphysically, and you have to look at it literally. So there's a saying that goes, nobody's perfect, right? Nobody's better than nobody else. And I don't agree with that. And I also agree with that. Here's what I mean by that. When it comes down to the metaphysical anatomy and who we really are, if I have to be honest, we're going back to the whole sex is energy thing. That means that every single person by nature, because of we all come from one atom and we all have the same energy in our systems, we all are actually connected to each other. So when it comes to the metaphysics, the actual origin of each other, no, nobody is perfect, because we're all equal on that realm. But here's where the catch comes in. See, now we're operating in the realm of reality. We're operating in a different realm. So in this different realm of reality where people are actually humans and people actually could contextualize things and achieve goals and um, learn and educate themselves, people are better.
Right.
See, people misunderstand that quote. They think that, hey, nobody's perfect. No one's better than anybody else. True, metaphysically. But in this reality,
Yeah.
you goddamn right I'm better than other people because I educate myself to be better. I strive to be better. I don't want to be like that person. I see this person who I'm like, that person is better than me. I aspire to be that person. So then we get in this, unfortunate low vibration mode where we're hating on other people. We want what somebody else got because they ain't supposed to have it. They ain't supposed to be better.
They're not
We
better
gotta,
than me.
we gotta figure out how we think in different realms because we operate in different realms. There's different realms that we operate in, and certain language is important because certain language operates differently in different realms as well.
Right.
Remember what you said about the
Oh, yes, go ahead.
Have you ever seen the Avatar?
No, but when I went to Disneyland, I went to their Avatar land.
All right. So here's what I'll say then. To those who've watched Avatar and seen those tall, big ass, crazy, strong looking trees that went all the way up into the heavens, those were actually mountains. So the mountains you see are actually the tree trunks of those gigantic trees that went all the way to the heavens. Those are the remains, and they're telling us it's something different, but man, we could go so deep with that. Like
that's actually really dope. Do you find people that challenge your theory?
Here's my thing. I know what I know, and I don't care if they challenge my theory because it doesn't change the reality. So I'm not here to debate anyone. See, I used to do all that debating and argument and all that. I stand in my own faith. So there's certain
you
things
don't need justification or validation
not
from
needed
anybody.
because at the end of the day, I'm not gonna try to change anybody's mind. All I would say to people is, even with the research that's out there, you don't have to agree with it. Let's go back to the COVID thing. People, it was funny that people was talking about trust the science, trust the science, trust the science, but at the same time, there was other scientists that was contradicting the science. So who do you believe? You believe on whoever your allegiance is to. So therefore, I make no allegiance to anyone or nothing. So therefore, I can always look at two things at once and just draw my own conclusion. So I'm not attached to any theory. So if somebody, or if I was to get new information to challenge otherwise, it's just another tool in my toolbox where I can say, okay, well, hey, that's good to know.
Facts. To go back to the transfer of energy, so a thought just came into my head. So the transfer of energy is not necessarily just sexual energy, it's just your energy overall. Because what just came into my mind was, okay, what if we have two virgins that have sex? What is the energy that's transferred there? Is it just their everyday energy that they transfer into each other?
See, when I say energy, I'm not talking about actual energy as far as the sexual organs. Now that plays a part on another level, but it's just that person because everybody has your own unique energy.
Right.
So what I noticed is I've had women do this survey where I'm like, okay, the next time you have sex with whatever guy that you're having sex with, what I want you to do is, if you can now, this is something you have to do pre-sex. I want to know your mood and your energy a week prior to that engagement. And then after that engagement, I want you to notate your mood and your energy 2 days after that, because just like any seed, it needs time to foster and grow. So it usually takes anywhere from 2 days for a week for you to feel the energy of that guy that you've just had sex with. Quick story. So, good friend of mine, she was out and about hanging out, and she was in a club. And she happened to run into one of her male friends in the club, and her male friend was with his cousin. So the two cousins was out hanging out. My friend was like, "Hey, what's up with your cousin? I'm kind of checking for him, trying to feel him." And he was like, "All right, you can go holler at him." They connected, and she linked up with him, and they had sex. Sex was good from what she said, but like a couple days later, she like maybe like what was it? So 2-3 days later, she was saying how she was feeling like something wasn't right. She felt bad, like she was feeling like not sick, but she was feeling so almost kind of depressed, so emotionally depressed that she felt like something was wrong. She had to go to the hospital. So I was like, damn, that's kind of messed up. And I was like, okay. And this is before I knew anything about what I know right now. So
Okay.
this was back somewhere late in the early 2000s. So she was telling me how she was looking to get in contact with the dude because it was almost like it was a one night stand, and she wasn't taking it like that, but she was reaching out to him. He wasn't calling back, and
Oh,
she was like, "Yo, what's
yeah.
good?" So she
Yeah.
finally tracked down her friend, and she was like, "Yo, what the fuck? I'm checking for your cousin, and he ain't returning my calls, whoop de woo, and all of this."
Right.
It was like, "Oh, damn, he's going through that like 2 days before they had sex, his father had died. So he was going through
Oh,
some depression, and he
yeah.
just went out because his cousin was trying to get him out the house. And even though it's a couple of days, like, yo, you got to get your mind out of whoop de woo. And come to find out, yeah, the father had passed, and she had told me that. And then I was like, damn. So how soon after you had sex did you feel however you felt? Because she didn't correlate the two.
Mm-hmm.
I correlated that, and I was like, perhaps that's
Years
something.
later. Oh.
So, but yeah, that's how powerful that energy is. So even with diversions, it's not
Yeah.
about the actual, organs per se. It's about that energy that the person's releasing into that other person,
Mm.
especially the woman, because it works differently from male to female because male have a different imprint that's not necessarily totally sexual. It usually happens with how women receive that man. So it doesn't even have
Mm.
to be sex. It's just about how women receive that man as far as how they see him as confident. So if you're a high school dude
Mm.
and you're popular with the women, or you have like quote unquote women that some people will consider quote unquote high value or very attractive, and those women are checking for you, or they're showing you a lot of attention, that's going to boost your confidence as a male, and that's going to determine and set up your sexual imprint, going forward. Because even if you was bad in bed, if
Mm.
if a lot of women are validating you as an attractive male, it's going to boost your confidence. You're like, nigga, I got this. I don't give a fuck. It's a little bit different.
That is facts. So what would you say people who clearly are listening to this podcast and just like me starting to connect dots, what would you say to them about taking the time to either clear their energy or change the trajectory?
The first thing that I would say, if you're going to start this journey, is do as much reading as you humanly can on subjects that, especially if this is your interest, subjects like this that interest you.
Mm.
Because a lot of the times we don't actually seek the wisdom that's out there. Now,
Mm.
granted, we're quicker to talk to professionals and therapists and other people, which is cool. I don't have
Right.
nothing against that. But I've always come from the school of thought is like there's so many people that they'll take time to play video games, go out to clubs, go out to
Mm-hmm.
the bar, go out to do shit that's not really doing nothing for their lives,
Mm-hmm.
but won't take the time to do something that's going to change their life. So if there's somebody out there who is really interested in changing their trajectory of life, changing their spirit, changing what they believe is true, what they believe is reality, I would suggest you do some reading. And there's a few different books out there. One of the books, oh my goodness. So I don't know how many people out there know who the metaphysicist is, Dr. Phil Valentine, not the white
Mm.
guy on TV, not that guy, but Dr. Phil Valentine.
As soon as you said, I was about to say, Dr. Phil? I was like, really? But go ahead.
I did a interview with him on
Oh.
my channel, and man, he's a legend. He's an elder, and he has a book out there called The Wounded Womb. That
Hmm.
book is like 600 pages long, and it goes into the metaphysics, it goes into the psychology, it goes into, and he wrote that book, I want to say almost 20 years ago.
Oh,
And if this
wow.
brother ain't cooking, man, a lot of the stuff that he talked about back then, and just like our sister Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, who wrote the ISIS papers, a
Mm.
lot of stuff that she wrote regarding just the nature of what's going on with society, Black society, and all of that.
Hmm.
She was on time too. A lot of the stuff is coming to the forefront right now. So I suggest that there's a lot of information out there that will
Hmm.
help you get to where you want to be if you're looking to go on your spiritual journey. But if you don't have the funds to get these books, there's a lot of free stuff online. You just have to be willing to look.
Hmm. And when you say like start the journey, I think a lot of people lie to themselves when they say they're on a journey to healing, and because they're just like, oh, I'm just going to sit quiet. Like you said, the women who, are abstinent for a few months to a few years, and then they just think, okay, cool, I'm getting back in the game. Everything's going to be different. I don't think people are realistic with themselves. So I think if you do plan to take this journey, your first step should be to evaluate, are you really prepared to take this journey, like for the sacrifice of it? It's not just, I'm gonna cut the world out and then everything's gonna fix itself from when I come back. Like, you legit need to mentally prepare yourself for this journey.
Let me tell you this. We live and when I say this, I don't say it disrespectfully. I just say what it is. We live in a different era
Mm-hmm.
where we say these things as if it means something without any actions approved. What do I mean by that? There was a time when, in order to have change, we literally, physically had to get up, get out, and actually do something. Meaning, if we
Mm-hmm.
wanted justice, we had to march, we had to organize, we had to facilitate something. If we wanted to really work out, we had to actually go to the gym. We had to, if there was something on our mind that we didn't like, we had to go somewhere to
Yep.
tell somebody. Let me
Mm-hmm.
tell you what we've done now, which is scary. We now, with our same power that we have in our voice, we go to social media like Twitter,
Mm-hmm.
Facebook, and Instagram, and we write these things as if it was an actual action. And what the problem with that is, when you write these things, it makes you feel like you've done something, therefore you don't have to do nothing.
Mm-hmm.
See, that's the problem. We have to get out of the mindset of, yeah, I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to get better, I want to heal, I want to. Motherfucker, you know what the truth is? Motherfuckers don't want that, because, like you
No.
said, it comes with a sacrifice. And
Yeah.
that's been my word this whole year. It has to be a sacrifice. If there's no sacrifice, it's not going to change your life.
Mm-hmm. It's like Kevin Hart. He says everybody want to be rich, but nobody want to do the work.
Everybody want to go to heaven. Nobody want to die. Well, motherfucker, I'm ready to die. So let's go. What I mean by that is, look it.
You mean you
I'm
could?
prepared. I'm always prepared.
Yeah.
Always
No,
prepared.
I respect that. Well, I feel like this is a dope conversation. We could definitely keep going for it. I definitely plan on having you back. I'll talk to you about those offline, but make sure I'm gonna give you the last few minutes to let everybody know how they can find you, all your handles, and we'll close out.
You know what? If this was a year ago, a month ago, or even a week ago, I would have dropped all that.
Mm,
But you know what? Those who want to find me, they'll find me. I don't have to drop anything. They'll
okay.
find me, because
Okay.
I'm no longer looking. Whatever's for me is for me.
Got it. That's dope. Okay. Well, on that note, y'all better go find him. I have a feeling I'm gonna have a bunch of people in my DMs like, yo, how do I? That's okay, because I'm gonna tag him on the. Oh my God, I'm losing my
On the
words. The
thing.
caption on a thing. I'm gonna do the thing on a thing, and it's gonna be all set. But I want to thank B Rich Scott, for
No, I want
being
to
with me
thank
today.
you. No,
You
I'm
want to
gonna
thank
thank
me? We're
you.
gonna thank
I'm
each
gonna thank
other.
you because I appreciate you. I appreciate you bringing me on your platform, and I
Thank you.
appreciate you giving people a voice, and you helping people find out some actual real knowledge that's probably going to help somebody in their life, and that's
Yeah.
what's really dope.
Honestly, that's why I started this podcast. It started off as I talk too much, so why not, let people hear what I gotta say, and then it's taking me somewhere that I'm loving. I'm, radio goals, nationwide goals. That's what we're doing over here.
You gotta have
Uh,
that. And
I
I'm gonna have you
am.
on my platform too. So we're
Yes,
gonna talk
you
about
let
that
me
too.
know. Listen, I'll have to figure it out. Baby's asleep by 7:30. After that, I'm good to go. Like I can be prepared and I can be ready. But I'm gonna say goodnight to everybody. I appreciate y'all joining us, and I'm gonna just have to catch y'all on the next one. Make sure y'all go check my boy out, and I'm gonna list all the things on the thing. All right, peace, y'all.